Jaylin Noel has the yes factor. Could he be the Texans' future X factor? Today's podcast continues the Rookie Diary series with Iowa State wide receiver coach Noah Pauley. And here's the question, guys. Is Jaylin Noel the next Steve Smith?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Better Red Nation, Bulls on parade from H-Town to your town. Today's show is for Texan fans all around. I'm John Hickman, your Texans credential media member and football analyst. Excited for today's show as we continue with our Rookie Diary series. And of course, if you haven't been following along, please go make sure that you check out the Jaden Higgins podcast that was dropped early in the week. Today's the Jaylin Noel's podcast. And I'll continue with those rookie diaries as we get into next week throughout the month of June. We're looking at in between the lines and the impact that the rookie that we'll be talking about can have for the Houston Texans in 2025 and beyond. Today's podcast will feature Coach Noah Pauley, Iowa State wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator. We'll also kind of kick it off with the journey to H-Town. You know, what happened with this player before he was a Houston Texan. And looking at Jaylin Noel, and before I do so, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So make sure you check out FanDuel. But when I look at the journey to H-Town for Jaylin Noel, guys, this was a fighter since high school. 3-star recruit coming out of high school, committed to Iowa State. His best year in high school, 42 catches, a little bit under 800 yards, 9 TDs at Iowa State, came in his freshman year, in 2021, made an immediate impact. 13 games, 3 starts, 39 catches, 269 yards. He also served as the team's primary kickoff and punt returner, averaging 26 yards per return on 11 kickoff returns. And I can't wait to dive more into that. Over his collegiate career, played in 50 games, 33 starts, 245 catches, a little bit under 2,900 yards, 18 touchdowns. In 2024, the year that put him on the map for all teams, scouts started to fall in love with him in 2024, 80 catches, 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. And he was doing all of this as a second option. What I like the most about Noel is he's never been a number one. And in some cases during his collegiate career, he wasn't a number 2. He found ways to make impact, an impact play, an impact drive, an impact half. He's going to find a way to make an impact on the field, which leads me to how much he contributed to special teams. 53 punts returned in his career for 466 yards, 37 kickoff returns, 821 yards during his 4-year career. Now, it's time to have a deeper conversation about Jaylin Noel. There's no better person to lead that conversation than a man that spent a lot of time with that young man over the last 2 seasons, and that is Iowa State's wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator, Noah Pauley. Let's dive right into the conversation. And we are back continuing this Rookie Diary series, and I'm extremely grateful for Coach Noah Pauley, again, wide receiver coach at Iowa State for the past 2 seasons. Going into his 3rd year, he will be added as the passing game coordinator. Coach, before we talk about the young man and Jaylin Noel, who I'm extremely excited about, how does it feel to just get a little bit more on your plate?
It's always
eating a little bit more, man. They gain a little weight up there at Iowa State.
it's always what you want, man. You always want to challenge yourself. You always want to be challenged. I think that's a great thing Coach Campbell does. Is he'll challenge you guys from our coaching staff and our players from the day you step in that building, and as much as when you're prepared for it. So I feel like as a staff, we're a real collective in what we do, and man, everything runs through Coach Taylor Mauser, our offense coordinator, has done a great job, and those guys feeling comfortable to lean on me a little bit more in the pass game, and it's an exciting role.
And you know what? I gotta ask. 22 reps on the bench at the combine is insane for a wide receiver. It's even more insane when that wide receiver is a 5'10", 5'11" guy. But here's your former player, Jaylin Noel, knocking it out. Like, what kind of work ethic does Noel even have to get to that point?
It's different, man. I'm telling you, he is, and I've said it a million times on these interviews and through the draft process. Like, he is the most competitive person I've ever met in my life, and had the chance to coach. He's pound for pound the strongest kid on our team. At, like you said, 5'10", 200 pounds,
Yeah.
and it's because of the work that dude puts in. Like, there's no one that's gonna outwork him. If someone gets him on a rep, he's gonna do everything he possibly can to make sure he's gonna get him on the next time coming back. Like,
Line him back up.
it line it back exactly, and that's what you love about him. His spirit, his competitiveness is contagious, and I tell everyone, I think that's the reason why we had so much success, is that he never backed down from anyone, and it was contagious on the team. And again, he was going to find ways to make sure this program was successful.
Now, you get there, a couple of seasons ago, have the opportunity to get your hands on him, right? Kind of help refine some things. How did you help Jaylin improve on his focus and clean up on those drops?
Yeah, it's going to, and we talked about this a lot, and that was the thing that people said, and I read coming into it. Like, he had a couple drops in the 22 season and 23 season, and this past year he was incredible. And it's all focus drops. Like, he has great hands. It's a guy that's trying to make the
The
next
play.
big play, right? And that's just something that him and I sat down. Is like, hey man, we always talk about completion over yak, right? You want to get ourselves in the second, third, and manageable, and the yak is going to come when it comes. And I think he took that to heart, and he understood that. It was preached every day. I think the biggest jump Jaylin did from the 23 season to the 24 season is, from our standpoint, offensively, we expand his role. He was playing a lot more in our 12 and 21 personnel stuff, where he was our Z receiver opposite of Jaden. And man, teams wanted to load the box. We felt great of sending him vertical and one-on-one or RPOs, and just finding different ways to use him. And I think that was something that people didn't know he had in his game. Man, we knew he could be in the slot and run the choice routes, the dovers, the seam balls, the sails, but could he run the curls, the comebacks, the digs, those type of routes? And what he did in this last season was he showed that, and he did a great job of it.
Coach, you just named 6 routes. And
Yeah.
for some people, they may not even know what those routes are. Can you break it down? Just like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work going into refining your skills, getting better, but also just the mental aspect of getting those mental reps and learning, okay, against this defense, I have this route, but I need to go this depth on this route. Like,
Yeah.
and when you look at Noah, smaller guy plays bigger, just
hmm
how much of his mental aspect just got better and better since you got there and allowed for him to kind of have a explosion this past season.
Yeah. Well, his biggest thing is he loves to be coached. Like, those him,
You love
Jaden,
that. You gotta love
Jalen,
that.
and Jaden. Yeah, they're the first guy in line every single time, regardless if it's a special teams drill, or if it's a receiver drill, whatever we're doing, they're going to be the first in line. So he wanted to be coached. He's not one of the guys that knows he's, you know, the best player, one of the best players on the team, that, hey, I don't need to be coached. I got it. I've kind of arrived. Like, no, that was not his mindset. Like, coach me hard. And that was the one thing he wanted to get a lot better at the top of the route. You know what I mean? Because when you're in the slot, it's a lot of you don't have a
Break
lot
it
of
down.
true, yeah, breaking down. You're not really sinking your hips. You're more, pound cuts, you're more speed cuts, stuff like that. And he wanted to get better at the top of the route, and he did so. And he took into, man, how we taught it. And he wanted to get better at, like I said, those outside routes that we ask our guys to do, because he knew that if he wanted to make it to the next level, like, he didn't want just to pigeonhole himself and just be, hey, I'm just a slot receiver. And I think
I'm
that was
glad
the
you.
yeah, that was the best thing he showed. And you said it, for his stature, like, he plays bigger than he is. And like, you watch the film, his contested catch rate is
Crazy.
unbelievable. Yeah, for being
Crazy.
a
Yeah.
5'10", 5'11" guy. And I think that's the biggest thing we probably learned of, like, we could put him in, and like I said, 12 or 21 personnel with two receivers in the game, or we could put him in with 13 personnel, and he's the only receiver on the field, and they want to lock the heavy in the box. Like, all right, just go vertical, or just run whatever route, one-on-one route. And we feel confident because he, again, has learned and he grew to be able to run every single route in the route tree.
Coach, you've been around football for a long time, right? Played collegiate football at UMD, won 2 Division II national championships. You started coaching in 2011 as a student assistant, work your way up to North Dakota State in 2019. You've seen a lot of football. 5'10", 5'11" guy, plays bigger than his size, can make the contested catches downfield, works on getting those, big plays downfield, and works on getting better at his route ability. I'm going to just say it because I saw this recently. Jaylin Noel equals Steve Smith, maybe, or am I doing too much, Coach? Because you kind of bigged him up just now.
I love the comparison because I love the dog that Steve Smith used to play with back in the day. Like he was the same way. Like there wasn't anyone that was gonna bully him on the field like he was gonna bully people. And
He's a bully. Yeah.
even for Jalen's stature, like that's how he played. Like you watch, like go to the Cincinnati game where we're about on the plus 30-yard line. He catches it might even be like a check down to the field. And one of our main things in our receiver room is you never run out of bounds unless it's situational. And he knew like, hey, I could run out of bounds here and get out, but he ran the dude over, like just got up and ran the dude over in this 5-yard route. And it's just a tone setter. And that's what he is. And that's what I saw Steve Smith as. Like he was a tone setter. I always told him before every single game, I said, hey, you are a tone setter, make sure you go set the tone for this game. And that meant in the run game, that meant in the return game, that meant in a receiver. Like that's just what he did. And that was his mindset every single game. So I see the comparison, just mentality wise. And like I could sit here and brag about him all day long, and that it is, but he's gonna have to put in the work here these next couple of years and show that's what he is as far as a player. But I believe in him that he is that guy.
Houston Texan fans, we are getting ready for the NBA Finals, and the time is now. You got Shea versus Halliburton. That's going to be a fun matchup. Miles Turner versus Chet Holmgren. That's going to be a fun matchup. Then you got all of the moving pieces around it. Siakam versus J-Dub. That's going to be a fun matchup. Both sides have past champions on their team to give them their championship edge. The finals will be fun. And you want to get on the action, you can get in on the action with FanDuel. Whether it's a game-winning shot, a breakout player, or just, I don't know, maybe you got a feeling that somebody's catching hot. There's never been a better time to get in on the action than right now. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. So if you're in a mood right now where you're just kind of looking at what was the last player prop that was risky, but it paid off. Maybe you want to be on the risky side. Maybe you want to keep it safe and sound and just play your $5. If you play your $5 and win $5, if you're a first-time customer of FanDuel, they'll give you $200 in bonus bets to add to the excitement. So perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back in, Bulls on Parade, Battle Red Nation. More from the conversation with Coach Pauley. More Locked On Texans. Thank you for staying locked in on Locked On. Down the line, if Houston gets that version, a Steve Smith version of a player, you talk about a playmaker, right? And OTAs kicked off for the Houston Texans. We heard from Nico Collins, and Nico Collins just talked about, the new offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, and how he's going to get playmakers the ball, right? So I immediately thought about Noah. Then I immediately thought about, hey, Houston brought in Christian Kirk this offseason. So he will be kind of budding for time out on the field. But what I like about Jaylin, he's never been, in terms of numbers, he's never been the number one. But if you go back and look, he's close around. He's number 2 the last couple of years. And then when there's Xavier Hutchinson there, he's top 5 in receive, but he makes plays. He gets on the field. Can you talk about his relentlessness to just say, you know what? Screw the situation. I'm going to create a situation for myself to be valuable, not only to the offense, but also the special teams and overall the team together.
Yeah, that's a great question. Jaylin is a guy that I think is the reason why Iowa State's trajectory has changed and why we had the season
Man.
he was is because of that right there. Is because he never cared about how many catches he had, how many touchdowns he scored. He wanted to win at Iowa State. He wanted to change the narrative here, and he did that. And it came off of, and I touched on it before in the Jaden section. It was like we go into the game and we had to figure out, hey, what's their game plan? We knew one week that Jaden was going to go off. We knew the next week Jalen was going to go off, or vice versa. However, they were trying to play those two guys. One of them were going to go off, and all those guys cared about is us winning football games. And even go back to it, like he wasn't having a big game, but man, he had a 20, 30 yard punt return. Like he found his way and his niche to help the team. And that's why I think the Houston Texans are so fortunate to get a guy like him, because it's never going to be about him. And it's going to be about finding ways to win football games, get to the playoffs, win Super Bowls, and be a great person in the locker room and in the community. And man, he's running down as a gunner on punt. He's going to do it. If he's got to be whatever it is, I promise you that guy is going to be for it and about it, and he's going to find the way to be successful. And the thing we talk about is like, man, find your role and then expand it. And that's exactly what he's going to try to do, is find that role, whatever it may be. He's putting time, great. And then once he gets his opportunity, he's going to find his way to expand it as quick as possible.
Coach, I'm gonna need for you to hook me up with a autographed jersey. The way you hyping him up, it's good PR. But this is a great conversation.
That's my
I
guy, man.
appreciate it.
Those are my people.
I mean, he's a baller,
Yeah.
man, and both Higgins and Noel. Those are two young men that I looked at during the pre-draft. We were doing some scouting, and I said to myself, "Yeah, Higgins reminds me a lot of Nico Collins in his second year. He just didn't have a quarterback to get him the ball. But Noel is a guy that he comes off as a playmaker, an X factor, where if you look, will he have over 100 yards in the game? Maybe not, but look at what he did in special teams. Look at the phases of football and how he impacted it. Now, you talk about getting on the field. What matters, this is from a former lineman, blocking at the receiver position for both of these young men. But speaking specifically to Noel, can you talk about how he went about just getting better as a blocker at the receiver position, and also having to get better with his size?
Yeah, it was never a 1-2 thing for him. Like it's the same thing I talk about his mentality. Like he always wanted to try to bury someone, whether he's carrying the football or blocking that guy. There's multiple clips. I mean, I go through my recruiting PowerPoints and I start out with blocking clips of those two guys. Like 22 to 20. If you want the field, and they knew it, and they'll tell you, like, you want to see the field here, you better block. And I don't care if you're number 9 or number 13, like, you better find a way to put your body on the line for the guys, that are carrying the football back there. And those guys took it to heart. And Jalen especially did a great job of it. And he continued to get better. Obviously, he's going against linebackers and safeties and some bigger body guys in the slot. But, man, he didn't shy away from anything and just continued to grow and get better, and just knew, man, a lot of it's a mindset thing and being the best teammate you can. And, again, like I said before, that's why it was fun to coach those guys, because it didn't matter what phase of the game it was. They were going to make sure they were going to set a standard for the room and everybody else, and they're going to uphold it.
Now, Coach, my last question to you. When we talked about Jaden Higgins, I talked about your faith and how you use that to lead those young men. Not only just Higgins and Noah, but also your room of wide receivers. But I got to ask you about this specifically, because anytime this conference produces a wide receiver to the NFL, people always say it's just the Big 12. Can you please, for our listeners and viewers out there, just dispel that notion that Big 12 don't put good receivers in the NFL?
I think you just gotta wait and see, because I all the trust in the world. You help me hype these guys up. I think the world of these two guys, on and off the field. I trust in their abilities. I know what they've done to get in the position they are. I know they'll be successful. They will help that team win multiple games. They will continue for years on, in my opinion, to build on that core of that team around a couple of those guys, just because of the people they are. And yeah, you can't listen to the outside noise, and that's what those guys didn't do. They never listened to the outside noise playing at Iowa State, because we hear a lot of it, and what we can do, and they're going to put their head down and work. And I think that's all we can wait and see, is the work that they put in and the production that they have, whether it's in year 1 or year 4 or whatever year it is. They're going to make sure they're going to be successful some way, somehow.
Coach Pauley, I really appreciate you taking time out to join me here on the Locked On Texan podcast. Good luck on the upcoming season. God bless you and your unit and your team. And I can't wait to talk to you again. We'll talk football about these young men out here in Houston.
I appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for making the Locked On Texans your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. As training camp gets closer, OTAs are in full action. Moves are being made. Teams are getting ready for the 2025 season. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So back to the conversation surrounding Jaylin Noel. And it's important that whenever we talk about these players, we talk about what their potential for the Houston Texans in 2025 will be. And then we'll start from there to look at what their potential will be moving beyond 2025. And so when I look at between the lines, where does Noah fit into the Texans' plans, and how can he make an impact? Noah's addition should start the conversation of Houston actually having an X factor that they are not scared to deploy, that they have an X factor that they're not scared to use. And I want to include in that statement, I recognize Tank Dell is a Houston Texan. I recognize he is an X factor, but I am also reluctant to confidently say Houston really allowed for Dell to be a true Weapon X type of player in different phases of the game that they could have benefited from. In 2023, we saw Desmond King returning punts and kickoffs. We saw Robert Woods back there. We saw Steven Sims. They all fielded punts for the Houston Texans. Tank Dell did as well. Also that year, Tank Dell only had 2 kickoff returns for 44 yards. I felt like he could have been, especially coming out of U of H, his time there with the Cougars, what he was able to do for that offense and special teams, he could have been a X factor for this special team unit. 2024, Houston ran into some of the same issues, having multiple guys returning punts, returning kickoffs, and it felt like at times they were experimenting, trying to figure out who's the guy that will work for them. I'm on board saying that, hey, moving forward, Dameon Pierce should be back there on kickoff returns. But the Houston Texans need a true punt returner. And not only do they need a true punt returner, this is where you lack that X factor from Desmond King returning punts, right? And I think, Desmond did what he had to do. I think he led the team in punt return yards in 2023 as a vet. So that's good. But what the Houston Texans missed from Robert Woods being back there, Desmond King being back there, and some of those other guys, they miss the explosiveness and they miss the electricity. And that's where, when I look at being an X factor for the Houston Texans, for Jaylin Noel, as he's coming into a situation where clearly the number one guy is the number one guy. So you look at him in his collegiate career, he's never been a number one guy. For the most part, played the number 2, at times played the number 3, but he's also coming into a situation where your number 1 in college is now the number 2 here for this team. Christian Kirk is the vet, so he's going to be the presumed number 3. He's back to being regulated to the number 4. Where can he get on the field? How can he get on the field and be a playmaker for this team? And Noel, to me, should come in and have a defined role for what his skill set and being a former Big 12 special teamer of the year brings to the team. Having a great deal of experience as a returner, he should undoubtedly be this team's lead returner. Like, number 1, that's number 1. Number 2, don't be scared for him to get loose out on the field. Allow him snaps outside, inside to make plays and be the guy that can go deep for 20 yards plus, right? But also mesh concepts, rub routes, right? Underneath concepts that allow him the space that he needs to use that 4.3 speed and get busy and accelerate underneath. When the Texans need to convert, like that was also an element of the offense when everything went down. Houston didn't have a backup plan for it. And so the beauty of Noel is, realistically, how does he get on the field this year? Houston will put him out there for snaps. But if Christian Kirk is not a shell of his former self, if he goes out there and he looks like he's healthier, he's quicker, he's making plays, we know that he's going to make plays if he's out on the field. If he's motivated, Jaden Higgins, Nico Collins, No, that's not the Stephon Diggs, Nico, and Tank Dell of last year, but it's all about how the Houston Texans will set them up for success. Jaylin Noel right now is the number 4. Depending on how training camp goes and how maybe some of these other wide receivers may step up, because for some of those guys, it's either put up or shut up, and that's out the door. He may be a number 5 right now. But the one area that he should be able to come in right now to be this team's true X factor, along with getting out on the field and lining up at receiver, special teams. The Texans need not be scared, and that's probably bad English, but the Texans need not be scared of letting this young man be all you can be. Like, be all he can be. And he should be that guy. The guy that can do a little bit of everything and can do it at a respectable level. He should be that guy. He should be that guy where Houston is looking at punt return, right? Kickoff return. That's Noel. And honestly, that's his mindset that he's coming in already with. And that should be the mindset with him moving forward. And with these new kickoff return rules, these return rules that the NFL has, Frank Ross should be screaming at the top of his lungs to make sure he's first in line on special team indie drills to return kickoffs. Honestly, he should be the I can do it all guy. I can go line up inside. I can go line up outside. I can go deep and make a play in the middle of the field on the sideline. If we need a first down, hey, I'll even do a reverse. Give me in the screen game. We believe blocking will be better, not just for the final 5, but everybody around them, tight ends and the wide receiver unit all together. Get him the ball, allow him to be a playmaker, and I think that is how we'll eventually start to see him as the next X factor for Houston. And for the Houston Texans, do I think this will be an issue moving forward? I'm going to say no, because they do not have the same guy calling plays. But do not be scared to allow Noah to be the do-it-all guy, because he has the talent to do so. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Coach Noah Pauley. Just do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Subscribe, like, and comment to the YouTube page as well. And Locked On Texans at Locked On Texans on Twitter. Run these numbers up, share them with a friend who just like good football talk. Until next time, ladies and gents, peace.